Hello, I'm Jonasz Rewiński and you're watching Break the Fake. They make them, we break them and tell you everything you need to know. We wish to dedicate today's episode to the memory of Ethan, otherwise known as Live Forced Die Young, from the online movement known as NAFO. NAFO, or North Atlantic Fellas Organization, is an online group with the self-imposed task of fighting Russian vetniks and trolls, and a pack of real unsung heroes, if you ask me. So, back when NAFO was only just beginning to fight for Ukraine and push back against Russian disinformation, Ethan famously trolled Russian ambassador Mikhail Ulyanov on Twitter. Yes, we kind of keep dead naming it, Elon, deal with it. Anyway, the resulting line, as some of you may already know, became legendary. There has been countless memes, hell, even t-shirts and other wonderfully unhinged NAFO merch. "You pronounced this nonsense, not me," became a cult classic, and Ethan kind of started the whole craze. Rest in peace, fella. Your memory lives on. Speaking of NAFO, this movement literally exists to ruffle people's feathers, and boy, does it do it well. Most recently, a minor kerfuffle erupted over the fellas, starring a German internet piracy mogul and a US senator. By the way, I'm quite sure that this particular set of individuals wasn't on your 2024 bingo card, eh? So here is what happened. Kim Schmitz, aka Kim.com, who currently awaits extradition to the United States for fraud charges related to online piracy empire Mega Upload, claimed in a Twitter post that, and I quote, "NAFO has run out of funding and is officially dead. Just a few zombies remain." He also accuses former US Representative Adam Kinzinger of running the whole show. Never mind that, this is a grassroots movement. It doesn't have a boss. It doesn't have a command structure. It's just people basically spending time trolling the Russians on Twitter. That's it. So yeah, we're zombies. They won't stop till everybody's zombified. They are pumping us with lies like it's formaldehyde. We're dead inside. Guess which band wrote these lyrics, by the way? You can tell us in the comments. Anyway, and more importantly, does NAFO really look dead? When you scroll through Twitter, it doesn't really look dead. For that matter, do I look dead being a member of that particular organization? By the way, you can join too. There is no structure. There is no vetting or anything. If you want to join NAFO, fight against Russian disinformation, you are free to do it. However, this is not the end of it. After Kim posted his nonsense, Republican Senator Mike Lee of Utah, who already has a history of online skirmishes with NAFO for some reason, retweeted this. We kind of suspect why he treats Kim as a credible source. They are fellow conspiracy theorists, so there's that. In a furious series of tweets, Senator Mike Lee said NAFO is, and I quote, "clandestine propaganda campaign," end of quote, run by the government, also suggesting that it's some sort of massive mind control scheme to sway Americans to their cause, and so on and so on. So why the rage? Well, Mike Lee clearly isn't a fan of Ukraine. He did a 4-hour filibuster back in February to obstruct the Ukraine funding bill, and also said in March that if Ukraine ever joins NATO, the US should withdraw from the alliance. Real nice guy, right? Though, if he wanted to make a splash with his tweets, that is not really working. We all know Kim.com dive bombing an inflatable swimming pool would probably make a bigger one, if you know what I mean. Alright, Russian TV is set to premiere a new comedy series in 2025 all about Joe Biden. Yeah, the Kremlin's latest attempt to dunk on the West is to turn the US president into a sitcom character. The creators of the series Goodbye revealed that the plot revolves around Joe Biden, who is puzzled as to why his sanctions aren't effective against Russia. To get to the bottom of it, he decides to travel to Russia to understand the Russian soul. Upon arrival, the 46th US president loses his papers on the very first day, but gains an unexpected companion, a true Russian patriot. Now, Biden has to work as an English teacher to save up for new travel documents and figure out how to get back to America. First of all, the showrunners for this project must have been livid when President Biden announced he was not running for re-election in November, much like a certain Republican candidate who had all his punchlines written with Joe Biden in mind. Secondly, talk about a distraction. When your economy is tanking, your population is growing restless, and the international community is holding you at arm's length, what do? You try to make everyone laugh at someone else's expense. It is the oldest trick in the book. Look over here, not over there. Unfortunately, we've seen what passes for humor on Russian state TV, and spoiler alert, it's less SNL and more state-sponsored awkwardness. But I suppose when your country's idea of a good time is watching hours of propagandists yelling about how the West is crumbling, a little forced laughter might be a welcome change. Now let's talk about Europe's last dictator, Aleksander Lukashenko, the man who makes up for what he lacks in democracy with, well, absurdity. So, Lukashenko recently came out with a complaint that the West is trying to persuade him to fight against Russia alongside NATO. Sure, I bet when NATO's looking for allies, the first guy they call is the dude who rigged his own election and plays Putin's sidekick.
Живет в очень тяжелый период. Вопрос или-или. Нам сейчас советуют, подкидывают со стороны суши, на меня все это выливается. Давайте вот тут отступить, там освободить, начиная отсюда и заканчивая. Да плюнь ты на эту Россию, да отвернись ты от этой России. Давай будешь вот воевать с Украиной против России. Открой границы, мы войска НАТО под Смоленск заведем. Доходит и до этого. Мне сегодня вносят предложения со всех сторон, которые мы принять не можем на 99%. Поэтому я хочу, чтобы вы поняли, в какой мы обстановке, в какой ситуации живем.
Lukashenko, positioning himself as the guy who's resisting offers from both Russia and NATO, is like a kid in a sandbox who thinks everyone's fighting over his toy, but really they're just trying to avoid the kid altogether. So, Lukashenko, if you're watching, maybe take a break from pretending you're the belle of the geopolitical ball. Because from where we're sitting, it looks like you're just the guy who couldn't even get an invite to the dance out of pity. And for the last bit of this episode, let's talk voting. Meet Alexei Smirnov, the current acting governor of the Kursk Oblast, who's running for the governor's post in the upcoming elections. Now, you'd think his campaign slogan might be something like "Building a Better Future" or "Prosperity for Kursk." No. This is Russia we're talking about, where subtlety goes to die. Smirnov's slogan is, and I kid you not, "Fight Nazism and homosexuality." Yes, you had that right. Apparently, in Smirnov's mind, the two biggest issues facing the Kursk region in 2024 are Nazis and gay people? Is Kursk secretly hiding a bunch of time-traveling Nazis that we don't know about? It's like Smirnov looked at the actual issues like poverty, healthcare, education, and said, nah, let's go with something more provocative. But this slogan isn't just ridiculous, it's a perfect snapshot of the current state of Russian politics. When you're running for office and your biggest selling point is fighting imaginary enemies, it's probably because you don't have much else to offer. Meanwhile, the rest of us are just here, wondering if there is anyone left in Kursk who's buying what he's selling. Because if that's the future of Russian leadership, we don't need to tell you, there is not much future to look forward to. And with this, we conclude this episode of Break the Fake. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.